Okay, I'm live on Facebook and on YouTube. Today, or tonight, I should say, we'll be reviewing the anticipated document from the Vatican based on AI. It is titled Antiqua et Nova, meaning the ancients and the new. We're going to discuss, it's a fairly long document, so uh, if you need drink or food or need to pause and read this later, listen to it later, then by all means, we're gonna read what the Vatican has to say. It's important to know, especially as AI is changing how the world is doing things. So let's go ahead and begin with prayer. Um, a simple Pater Noster will do. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificitor nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et demente nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dementimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducias in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. All right, I'm going to go to share screen. All right, there we go. Facebook is on there. So anyone who wants to join on YouTube, I primarily be using on YouTube. So if you want to follow me on YouTube uh, to see this document, then that would probably be the most advantageous way to go. Um, so yeah. Um, so this is from the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, for the Culture and Education, Antiqua et Nova, the relationship between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. Introduction. With wisdom, number one, with wisdom both new and old, Matthew 13:52, we are called to reflect on the current challenges and opportunities passed by the scientific and technological advancements, particularly by the recent development of artificial intelligence (AI). The Christian tradition regards the gift of intelligence as an essential aspect of how humans are created in the image of God, Genesis 1:27, starting from the integral vision of human person and biblical calling to till and keep the earth, Genesis 2:15. The church emphasizes that this gift of intelligence should be expressed through the responsible use of reason and technical abilities in the stewardship of the created world. Number two, the church encourages the advancement of science and technology, the arts, and other forms of human endeavor, viewing them as part of the collaboration of man and woman with God's in perfecting the visible creation. As Sirach affirms, God gave skill to human beings that he might be glorified in the marvelous works. Sirach 38:6, or Ecclesiasticus. Human abilities are creative and creativity come from God, and when used rightfully, glorify God by reflecting his wisdom and goodness. In his light, in the light of this, when we are asked ourselves what is meant to be human, we cannot exclude the consideration of our scientific and technological abilities. That in the present note address of the anthropological and ethical challenges arise by AI issues that are particularly significant. One of the goals of this technology is to imitate the human intelligence that designed it. For instance, unlike many other human AI can be trained on results of human creativity and then generate new artifacts with a new level of speed and skill that often rivals or surpasses what humans can do. Positions. This raises critical concerns in the growing crisis of truth in the public forum. Moreover, this technology is designed to learn, adapting to new situations and providing solutions not programmers, and thus it raises the fundamental questions about the ethical relationship in human safety and the border implications for society as a whole. The new situation has a prompt many people to reflect on what it means to be human and the role of humanity in the world. Number four, taking this into account, the broad census that AI marks a new significant phase of human engagement with technology, placing it at the heart of what Pope Francis has described as a uh, epochal change. Its impact is felt globally in the wide range of areas, including in interpersonal relationships, education, work, art, healthcare, law, warfare, international relations, AI. As AI advances rapidly towards even greater achievements, it is critically important to consider its anthropological and ethical implications. This involves not only mitigating risks and preventing harm, but also ensuring that its implications are used to promote human progress and the common good. To contribute the term of AI and its response to Pope Francis, a call for a renewed heart, the Church offers its experience through the anthropological and ethical reflections contained in the note, commented to the active role in the global dialogue on these issues. The Church invites those entrusted with the transmitting the faith, including parents, teachers, pastors, bishops, to dedicate themselves to the critical subject and the care and the attention. While this document is intended especially for them, and is also meant to be accessible to broader audience, particularly those who share the conviction of the scientific and technological advances should be directed towards serving the human person and the common good. To this end, the document of intelligence in AI and the human intelligence, and then explores the Christian understanding of human intelligence. Finally, the document offers guidelines to ensure the development and the use of AI uphold human dignity and promotes the integral development of the human person and society. What is artificial? The concept of intelligence, quote unquote, in AI has evolved over time, drawing on the range of the idea of various disciplines. While its origins extends back centuries, a significant milestone occurred in 1956 when American computer scientist John McCarthy organized a summer workshop at Dartmouth University to explore the problem of artificial intelligence, which was defined as that of making a machine behave the way that would be called intelligent if humans were behaving. The workshop launched a research program focused on designing machines capable of performing tasks typically associated with human intellect and intelligent behavior. Since then, AI has uh, advanced rapidly, leading the development of the complex systems capable of performing highly sophisticated tasks. These so-called narrow AI systems are typically designed to handle specific and limited functions, such as translating languages, predicting trajectory of a storm, classifying images, answering questions, and generating visual content at the user's request. While the definition of the intelligence in AI research varies, most contemporary AI systems, particularly those using machine learning, rely on statistical interface uh, rather than logical deduction. By analyzing large uh, data sets to identify patterns, AI can predict outcomes and propose new approaches, uh, mimicking some cognitive processes typical of human problem solving. Such achievements have been made possible through advances in computing technology, including neural networks, unsupervised machine learning, and evolving algorithms, as well as hardware innovation processors. Together, these technologies enable AI to respond to various to new situations, and even suggest a novel solution not anticipated by their original programmers. Number nine. Due to the rapid advances, many tasks once managed exclusively by the humans are now entrusted to AI. These systems can augment or even in specialized areas such as data analysis and medical diagnosis. While each narrow AI application is designed for a specific task, many researchers aspire to develop what is known as the artificial general intelligence, or AGI, a single system capable of operating across all cognitive domains and performing any task with the scope of human intelligence. Some even argue that AGI one day would achieve the state of superintelligence, surpassing human intellectual capacities, or contribute to the super longevity through the technology. Others, however, fear that these possibilities, even if hypothetical, could one day eclipse the human person, while still others welcome the potential. All right, number 10 through 12. Underlying this and many other specific is uh, implicit assumption that the term intelligence in some way referred to both human intelligence and AI. Yet this does not capture the full scope of the concept. In the case of humans, intelligence is a faculty and pertains to the person in his or her entirety, whereas the context of AI intelligence understood functionally, often with the presumption that the activities and characteristics of the human are broken down into digitized steps that the functional perspective is exemplified by the Turing, quote unquote, which considers a machine, quote, intelligent, unquote, if a person cannot distinguish its behavior from the human. However, in this context, the term behavior refers only to the performance of the specific intellectual tasks. It does not account for the full breadth of the human experience, which includes abstractions, emotions, creativity, and the aesthetical, moral, and religious sensibilities. Nor does it encompass the full range of expressions characteristic of the human mind. Instead, in case of AI, the intelligence of a system is that based on the ability to case those associated with the human intellect, regardless of how those responses are generated. Its features give it sophisticated abilities to perform tasks, but distinction is critically important, or crucially important, as the way intelligence is defined inevitably shapes how in this technology. To appreciate this, one must call the richness of the philosophical tradition in Christian theology, which offers a deeper, more a comprehensive understanding of intelligence, and an understanding that is to the church's teaching on the nature, dignity, and the vocation uh, of the human person. So now we get into section, all right, intelligence and philosophical theological tradition, rationality. Number 3. From the dawn of human self reflection, the mind has played an essential role in understanding what it means to be human. Aristotle observed that all people by nature desire to know this knowledge, with the capacity for the nature and the meaning of things, sets humans apart from the natural world. As philosophers, theologians, and psychologists have examined the exact nature of this human uh, faculty, they have understand the world and their unique place in it. Through this exploration, the Christian tradition has come to understand that the human person as being a consisting of both body and soul, deeply connected to this world and yet transcending it. In the classical tradition, the concept of the intelligence is often understood through the contemporary concepts of reason, ratio, and intellect, intellectus. But as St. Thomas Aquinas explains, they are two modes in which the same intelligence operates. The term intelligence is inferred from inward grasp of truth, while the name of while the name reason is taken from the inquisitive and uh, discursive process. The concise description highlights two fundamental and contemporary dimensions of the human intelligence. Intellectus refers to the intent which precedes and grounds argumentation itself. Ratio pertains to reasoning power, reasoning proper, the discursive, the analytical process that leads together intellect and reason form the two facets of the acts of intelligere, the proper as such. The description being rational or as rational does not reduce the person to a specific mode or thought, rather recognizing the ability to for the intellectual understanding shapes permeates all whether exercised well or poorly. The capacity is an intrinsic aspect of human nature. In this sense, the encompasses all the capacities of the human person, including those related to the knowing and understanding, as well as those willing, loving, oral functions closely related to these abilities. This comprehensive reason as integrated that elevates, shapes, and transforms both the person's will and actions. The embodiment. Christian thought considers the intellect faculties of the human person with the framework of the empirical and anthropological that the views essentially embodied in the human person, spirit and matter are not two natures united, but rather their unions frail part of the uh, person contained with an intangible core. Rather, the entire human person is simultaneously both material and spiritual. This understanding reflects the teaching of sacred scripture, which views the human person as a being who lives out of relationships with God and others, and an authentically spiritual dimension within and through the embodied existence. The profound meaning of the condition is further illuminated by the mystery of incarnation, through which God Himself took on our flesh and raised up our sublime dignity, or raised us up to a sublime dignity. Although deeply rooted in bodily existence, the human experience transcends the material world, which is almost on the horizon of eternity and time. The intellect's capacity for the transcendence to the soul, by which the human person shares. Nevertheless, the human spirit does not uh, exercise its normal knowledge without the body. In this way, the intellectual faculties of the human person are an integral part and recognizes the human person is a unity of body and soul. Further injects that the developed and what follows. So the rationality. Human beings are ordered by very nature to impersonal communion, possessing the capacity to know one another, to give themselves love, and to enter into communion with others. Accordingly, human intelligence is not an isolated faculty, but a exercise in relationships, collaboration, and solidarity. We learn with others, and we learn through others. Orientation of the human person is uh, ultimately grounded into the eternal self giving triune God, whose love is revealed in creation and redemption. The human person is called to share by knowledge and love. This vocation in communion with God is necessarily tied to call to communion with God. I love God. First John 4:20, Matthew 22:37 through 30. The grace of sharing God's life, Christians are also called to imitate Christ's out 2:9 or 8 through 11, Ephesians 5:1 through 2. The command to love one another as I loved you, John 13, 34. Love and service echo the divine life of self giving, transcend self interest fully to the human vocation, even more sublime than knowing the many things that are commitment to care for others. If I understand all the mysteries of knowledge, I know I am nothing. Ultimately, God's gift fashioned for assimilation of truth, and the dual sense of uh, intelligu, intelligus or intellectus enables the person to explore realities that surpass mere sensory experience or utility, since the design for truth is part of the human nature. It is an innate property of the human reason to ask why things as they are. Moving beyond the limits of empirical data, human intelligence can, with genuine certitude, attain to reality itself as knowable. While reality remains only a partially known, the desire for the truth spurs reason always to go further. Indeed, it is if reason were overwhelmed to see if it can always go beyond what has already been achieved. The truth in itself transcends the boundaries of human intelligence. It irresistibly attracts it, drawn by its attraction. Drawn by this attraction, the human person is led to seek truths of a higher order. This innate drive toward the pursuit of truth, especially evident in the distinctly human capacities of semantic understanding and creativity, through which search uh, unfolds in the manner that is human reason. Likewise, the steadfast application of the truth is essential for the charity to be both authentic and universal. The search for the highest expression in openness and the realities and the transcend the physical and creative world. In God, all truths obtain their ultimate and original meaning. Entrusting one to God is a fundamental decision that what he or she is called to be, intellect and the will display the spiritual nature, enabling the person to act in a way that realizes the person of 25. The Christian faith understands creation as the free act of the triune God, who, as St. Bonaventure of Bannorigio explains, creates not to increase his glory, but to show it for 10:12. Creation is imbued with intrinsic order that reflects God's plan. Genesis 1, Daniel 2, Isaiah 45, Psalm 74, and Psalm 104, and within which God has called human beings to assume his unique role to cultivate and care for all the world. Shaped by the divine craftsman, humans live out their identity as being made in the imago Dei, keeping and tilling Genesis 2:15 creation, using their intelligence and skills to care for the development to develop creation in accord to God's plan. In this, human intelligence reflects the divine intelligence that created all things, their ultimate pursuits in Him. Moreover, human beings are called their abilities in science and technology, for through them, right, for through them God is glorified. Sirach 6, Ecclesiasticus also. Thus, in this proper relationship within creation, humans, on one hand, uses these intelligence and skill to God in the guiding creation toward the purpose in which he has called it. On the other hand, itself, as St. Bonaventure observes, helps the human mind to ascend gradually to the supreme principle, who is God. Let's see. 26 through 28. In the context of the human intelligence becomes more clearly understood as a faculty that forms a critical part of how the whole person engages the reality. Authentic engagement requires embracing the full one's being, spiritual, cognitive, embodied, and rational. The engagement with the reality unfolds in ways as each person in his or her uh, multifaceted individuality seeks to understand the world, relate to others, solve, produce, or pursue integral well-being through the harmonious interplay of the person's intelligence. This involves logical and logistical abilities, also encompass other modes of interacting with reality. Consider the work of the artisan, who must know how to discern to on a particular form that others cannot recognize, and bring it through the insight and the particular skill. Indigenous peoples who live close to the earth often possess a profound sense of nature and its circles. Similarly, a friend who knows the right word to say, or a person adept at managing a human relationship that exemplifies an intelligence that is the fruits As Pope Francis observes, in the age of artificial intelligence, we cannot forget that the poetry and the love are necessary to save our humanity. At the heart of Christian understanding of the intelligence is the integration of truth into the moral and spiritual life of a person, guiding his or her actions in the light of God's goodness and truth. According to God's plan, intelligence in its fullness sense also includes the ability to savor what is true, good, and beautiful. As the 20th century French poet Paul Claudie um, expressed, intelligence is nothing without delight. Similarly, Dante, upon reaching the highest heaven, testifies that the culmination of the intellectual delight is found in the light, intellectual, full of love, love of true good, filled with joy, joy which transcends every sweetness. So, we're almost getting to the heart of this matter right here. A proper understanding of the human intelligence, therefore, cannot be reduced to the mere acquisition of facts of the ability to perform specific tasks. Instead, it involves a person's openness to ultimate questions of life and reflects on the orientation toward the true and the good. As an expression of of the divine image, or the divine image with a person, human intelligence has the ability to access the totality of being, contemplating the existence of its fullness, which goes beyond what is measurable, and grasping the meaning of what has been understood. For believers, this capacity includes, in a particular way, the ability to grow in this knowledge of the mysteries of God by using reason to engage ever more profoundly with the revealed intellectus fidei. True intelligence is shaped by the divine love which is poured forth in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, or the Holy Spirit, Romans 5:5. From this it flows that the human intelligence possesses an essential contemplative dimension and an unselfish openness to the true, the good, and the beautiful beyond any utilitarian purpose. The limits AI, this is where it is probably the most important that we listen to. In light of the forthgoing discussion, the differences between the human intelligence and the current AI systems become evident. While AI is an extraordinarily technological achievement capable of immediate imitating certain outputs associated with human intelligence, it operates by performing tasks, achieving goals, and making decisions based on quantitative data and the computational logic. For example, with its analytical power, AI excels at integrating data from a variety of fields, modeling complex systems, fostering interdisciplinary connections. In this way, it can help collaborate in solving complex problems that cannot be dealt with a single perspective or from a single set of interests. However, even as AI processes and simulates certain expressions of intelligence, it remains fundamentally confined uh, to be a logical mathematical framework, which imposes inherent limitations. Human intelligence, in contrast, develops organically through the person's physical and pathological growth, shaped by the myriad of lived experiences in the flesh. Although advanced AI can learn, quote unquote, learn through processes such as the machine learning, This sort of training is fundamentally different from the developmental growth of the human intelligence, which shaped by the embodied creatures, including sensory input, sensory expressions, and local interplay, and the use of the context of each moment. These elements shape from form individual with their personal history. In contrast, AI lacking a physical body relies on a computation reasoning and learning based on the vast data sets that include recorded human experiences and knowledge. Consequently, although AI can simulate aspects of human reasoning and perform specific tasks with incredible speed and efficiency, its computation abilities represents only a fraction of the broader capacities of the human mind. For example, they were saying that the machine will never have the ability to rationate like the human soul, the human intellect can. So, for instance, AI cannot currently replicate moral discernment or the ability to establish authentic relationship. Moreover, the human intelligence is situated within a personality, where a person lived a history of intellectual and moral formation that fundamentally shapes the individual perspective, encompassing the physical, emotional, social, moral, and spiritual dimensions of life. Since AI cannot offer this fullness of understanding, approaches that rely solely on this technology or treat it as a primary means of interpreting of the world, one can lead to the loss of the apprehension for the world, for the uh, relationships between these things that, and for the border on the horizon. Whoa, too fast. So that was okay. So number 33 through 35. Human intelligence is not primarily about uh, completing functional tasks, but about understanding and actively engaging with the reality in all its dimensions. It also is capable of surpassing thought insights, since AI lacks the richness of corporeality, rationality, and the openness of a human heart to the truth and goodness. Its capacities, through seemingly limitless, are in, incomparable with the human ability to grasp reality. So much can be learned from an illness and an embrace of reconciliation or even simple sunset. Indeed, many experiences we have as humans open new horizons and offer the possibility of obtaining that can measure up to these and countless experiences present in our lives. Drawing with an overly close equivalence, succumbing to the fun uh, to a perspective where people are valued based on the work they can perform. However, a person's worth does not depend on a progressing specific skill, cognitive or technological achievements, or in, individual success, but on a person's inherent dignity, grounded in being created in the image of God. This dignity remains intact in all the circumstances. able to exercise their abilities, whether it be an unborn child, a unconscious person, or a person who is suffering. It also underpins the tradition that the human rights, and in particular, what are now called neuro rights, which represent an important part of the convergence of such a search for a common ground and serve as the fundamentalized ethical guide and discussions on the responsible development and the use of AI. Considering all these points, as Pope Francis observes, the very use of the word intelligence in connection with AI can prove misleading. The risks of overlooking what is most precious in the human person. In the line of this, AI should not be seen as a artificial form of human intelligence, but as a product of it. That makes sense. Number section 4, 36 through 39. 39 is pretty vague, so yeah, 39. Given the considerations, one can ask how the AI can be understood within God's plan. To answer this, it is important to recall that the scientific activity is not neutral in character, but is a human endeavor that engages the humanistic and cultural dimensions of human creativity, seen as the fruit of the potential inscribed within the human intelligence, the scientific inquiry, and development of the technological skills are part of the collaboration of a man and a woman, God with God, in perfecting his visible creation. At the same time, all the specific or all the scientific and technological achievements are ultimately gifts from God. Therefore, human beings must always use their abilities to view of this higher purpose for which God has granted them. And we are gradually acknowledge how technology was remedied countless evils which used to harm and limit human beings. A fact for which we rejoice. Nevertheless, not all the technological advancements themselves represent genuine human progress. The Church is particularly opposed to those applications that threaten the sanctity of life or the dignity of the human person. Unlike any human endeavor, technological development must be direct to serve the human person and to contribute to the pursuit of a greater justice, more extensive fraternity, and a more humane order of social relations, which are more valuable than the advances in the technical field. Concerning the ethical implications of technological development are shared not only with the church, but also amongst many scientists and technologists and professional associates who are increasingly call for an ethical reflection to guide this development in a responsible way. To address these challenges, it is essential to emphasize the importance of the moral responsibility grounded in the dignity of the vocation of a human person. This guiding principle also implies the question concerning AI. In this context, the ethical dimension takes a primary importance because is people who design systems to determine the uh, purposes for which they are used between the machines and the human being. Only the latter is truly a moral agent, a subject of the moral responsibility who exercises the freedom in his or her decisions and accepts their consequences. It is not the machine, but the human who is in the relationship with the truth and goodness, guided by the moral conscience that calls a person to love and to do what is good and to avoid evil, bearing witness to the authority of truth in the relevance of the supreme good in which the human person is drawn. Likewise, between a machine and a human, only the human can sufficiently self-aware to the point of listening and following the voice of the conscience, discerning with prudence and seeking the good that is possible in every situation. In this fact, all of us also it belongs to the person's exercise of intelligence. Number 40 through 42. Unlike any product of human creativity, AI can be directed toward the positive and the negative ends. And when used in ways that respect the human dignity and promote the well-being of the individual and communities, it can contribute positively to the human vocation. Yet, as in all areas where humans are called to make decisions, the shadow of evil often also looms there. Where human freedom allows for the possibility of choosing what is wrong, the moral elevation of the technology will need to take account how to direct and be used. At the same time, it is not only the ends that ethically significant, but also the means employed to achieve them. Additionally, the overall vision understanding of the human person embedded within these systems are important to consider as well. The technological products reflecting the worldview and uh, or the worldview of their developers, owners, and users, users and regulators, and I have the power to shape the world and to engage the consciences on the levels of values, on the societal level, and some of the technological developments also could reinforce relationships and the power dynamics that are inconsistent with the proper understanding of the human person and society. Therefore, the ends and the means used is given application of AI, as well as the overall vision it incorporates, must be a evaluation to assure human dignity and to promote the common good. As Pope Francis has stated, the this intrinsically dign this intrinsic dignity of every man and every woman must be a key criterion in evaluating emerging technologies. These will prove ethically sound to the extent that they are help the human that help respect the dignity and increase its expression at every level of human life, including in the social and the economic spheres. In this sense, the human intelligence plays a crucial role not only in designing and producing the technology, but also in directing its use in line and the authentic good of the human person. The responsibility for managing and wisely pertains every level of society, guided by the principle subsidiarity and other principles of Catholic social teaching. All right, so helping human freedom and decision making. 46. Let's see, are we doing fine on Facebook? Okay, so almost an hour into it. All right. The commitment to ensure that AI always supports and promotes the supreme values of the dignity of every human being and fulfills the human vocation serves as a criteria of as well as it is to its users. It remains valid at every level of its use. An elevation of its implications could begin to consider the importance of moral responsibility, since full moral casualty belongs only to the personal agents and non artificial. It is critical to be able to identify and define who bears responsibility for the process and reprogramming, while the bottom up approaches and the very deep neural networks enable AI to solve complex problems. They make it difficult to understand the processes uh, that lead to the solutions they adopted. This complicates accountability, since if an AI's application produces undesired outcomes, determining who is responsible becomes difficult. To address this use, attention needs to be given to the nature of accountability processes in complex, highly augmented automated settings, where results may only become evident in the medium to long term. For this, it is important that the ultimate responsibility for decision made by AI rests with the human decision makers, and that there is accountability for the use of AI at each stage in the decision making process, which makes total sense. Of course, that's common sense. Um, in addition to the determining who is given to the AI systems, although these systems make use of the unsupervised anonymous systems and sometimes follow paths that humans cannot reconstruct, they ultimately pursue goals humans have uh, assigned to them and are governed by the processes established by their designers. This presents a challenge because as AI models become increasingly capable of independent to maintain and control over them to ensure that such applications serve human processes may effectively diminish. The question of how to ensure AI systems are ordered for the good of people and not against them. While responsibility for the ethical use of AI systems starts with those to develop it, produce, manage, and oversee such systems, it is also shared by those who use them. Pope Francis noted that the machine makes the design criteria or the statistical interference. Human beings, however, not only choose, but their hearts are capable of deciding. Those who ask and follow it, results create a context in which they are also for power they have delegated. Therefore, insofar as AI can assist in making decisions, the algorithms that govern it can or it, that govern it should be trusted enough to handle inconsistencies and the transparent in their operation to mitigate biases and the frameworks should ensure that the legal entities remain accountable for the use of AI with the appropriate safeguards for the transparency, privacy, and accountability. Moreover, those who use AI should be careful not to become overly dependent on it. Yeah, there's that addictive factor. Humanity always has its human nature. Technology changes, human nature doesn't. When one thing is addictive in the past, things become addictive in the present, things become addictive in the future. Just saying. A trend that increases contemporary society already high reliance on technology. Our society is very highly technologically reliant. The church's moral and social teachings provides resources to help ensure that AI is used in a way that preserves human agency. Considerations about justice, for example, should also address issues such as fostering just social dynamics, uploading international security for peace by exercising prudence. Individuals and communities can discern ways to use AI to benefit humanity while avoiding applications that integrate human dignity or harm the environment. In this context, the concept of responsibility should be understood not only in its most limited sense, but as a responsibility for the care of others, which is more than simply accounting the resulted uh, uh, for the results achieved. Therefore, AI, like any tech, can be part of the conscious and responsible answer to humanity's vocation to the good. However, as previously discussed, directed by human intelligence to align with its vocation, ensuring that it respects the dignity of the human person. Recognizing this exalted dignity, the Second Vatican Council affirms that the social order and its developments must invariably work in the benefit of the human person. In light of this, the use of AI, as Pope Francis has said, must be accompanied by the ethic inspired by the vision of common good and the ethic of freedom, responsibility, and fraternity, capable of fostering the full development of a person, of people, in relation to others and to the whole creation. Specific questions. This is 49 through 52. Within the general perspective, some observations follow that illustrate how the preceding arguments can be help provide a ethical orientation in practical situations in line with the wisdom of the heart that Pope Francis has proposed. While not exhaustive, the this discussion is offered in service of dialogue and considers how AI can be used to uphold the dignity of a human person and promote the common good. AI in society. As Pope Francis observed, the inherent dignity of each human being and the fraternity that binds us together in the members of one human family must be undergird the development of the new technologies and serve as indisputable criteria for evaluating before they are employed. Viewed through the lens, AI could introduce more important innovations in agriculture, education, and culture, and improve level of life for the nations and the peoples, and grow the human fraternity and social friendship, and thus used to promote the integral human development. AI could also help organizations identify those in need and counter description and marginalization. These and others similar applications of this technology could contribute to the human development and the common good. However, while AI holds many possibilities for promoting the good, it can also hinder or even counter human development and the common good. Pope Francis has noted that the evidence to the data suggests that the digital technologies have increased inequality in our world, not just the differences in material wealth, but also which are also significant, but also the differences in access to political and social influence. In this sense, AI can be used to perpetuate marginalization or discrimination, create new forms of poverty, widen um, the digital divide, and worsen existing social inequalities. Okay, moving on. 53 to 54 through 55. Moreover, the consecration of the power over the magistrate of AI applications in the hands of a few powerful companies raises significant ethical concerns, exacerbating the problem, or this problem, is the inherent nature of AI systems, where no single individual can exercise complete oversight over the vast and complex uh, data sets used for computation. The lack of well defined accountability creates the risk that AI could be manipulated for personal or corporate gain or to direct the public opinion for the benefit of a specific industry. Such entities, motivated by their own interests, possess the capacity for exercise forms of control as subtly as they are evasive, creating the mechanisms for the manipulation of consciences and the democratic processes. Furthermore, there is the risk of AI being used to promote what Francis has called the uh, technocratic uh, paradigm, in which the perceives that all the world's problems are solvable through the technological means alone. In this paradigm, human dignity and fraternity are often set aside in the name of efficiency, as in reality, goodness and truth automatically flow from technological and economic power as such. Yet human dignity and one common good must never be violated for the sake of efficiency. For the technological developments that do not lead to the improvement in the quality of life or of humanity, but on the contrary aggravate inequalities and conflicts, can never count as true progress. Instead, AI should be put at the service of another type of progress, one which is healthier, more human, more social, more integral. Achieving this power requires a deeper reflection on the relationship between the uh, autonomy and responsibility. Greater autonomy heightens each person's responsibility across the various aspects of the communal life. For Christians, the foundation of this responsibility lies in the recognition of that all human capacities, include the person's autonomy, come from God and is meant to be used in the service of others. Therefore, rather than merely pursuing economic and technological objectives, AI should serve the common good of the entire human family, which is the sum of the total social conditions that allow people, either as groups or as individuals, to reach their fulfillment more fully and more easily. All right, AI and human relationships. 56. The Second Vatican Council observes that by the innermost nature, man is a social being, and he does not, and if he does not enter into relations with others, he can neither live nor develop his gifts. The conviction underscores the living in society is intrinsic to the nature and the vocation of the human person. As social beings, we seek relationships that involve mutual exchange and the pursuit of truth, in the course of which people share and with each other the truth they have discovered or to think they have discovered in such a way that they may help one another in the search of truth. Such a quest, along with the other aspects of the human communication, presupposes encounters of the mutual exchange between individuals shaped by their unique histories, thoughts, convictions, and relationships, nor can we forget that the human intelligence is a diverse, multifaceted, complex reality, individual, social, rational, and affective, conceptual, and symbolic. Pope Francis underscores this dynamic, noting uh, that the together we seek the truths of dialogue. It is relaxed conversation or the passive debate. To do so calls for preservation. It entails movements of silence and suffering, yet it can patiently embrace the broader experience of individuals and peoples. The process of building fraternity, be it local or universal, can only be undertaken by spirits that are free and are open to authentic encounters. It is in this context that the one can consider the challenges AI poses to the human relationships like other technological tools. AI has the potential to foster connections with the human family. Moreover, it can also hinder the true encounter with reality and ultimately lead to people to a deep and melancholic dissatisfaction with the interpersonal relations or a harmful sense of isolation. And that's true. And unfortunately, we can already see the world going that way eventually. Authentic human authentic human relationships require richness of being with others and their pain, their pleads, and their joy, since human intelligence is expressed and enriched also in the interpersonal and embodied ways. Authentic and spontaneous encounters with others are indispensable for engaging with the reality in its fullness. So, because true wisdom demands an encounter with the reality, and the rise of AI introduces another challenge, since AI can effectively imitate the products of human intelligence. The ability to know when one is interacting with a human or a machine can no longer be taken for granted. Generative AI can produce text, speech, images, and other advanced outputs that are usually associated with human beings. Yet it must be understood that what it is a tool, not a person. The distinction is often obscured by the language used by the practitioners, which tends to be uh, anthropomorphic, anthropomorphize AI. Yeah, uh, anthropomorphize AI and thus blurs the line between human and machine. It's more machine than man. Anthropomorphizing AI also poses specific challenges for the development of children, potentially encouraging them to develop patterns of interaction and that treat human relationships in its transactional manner as one would relate to a chat box. Such habits could be lead young people to see teachers as mere dispensers of information rather than mentors who guide and nurture their intellectual and moral growth. Genuine relationships rooted in empathy and steadfast commitment to the good of the other, the essential and the irrespectable in fostering the full development of the human person. 63, 61 through 63. In this context, it is important to clarify that despite the use of the anthropomorphic language, no AI application can genuinely express empathy. Emotions cannot be reduced to facial expressions or phrases generated in responses to prompts. They reflect the way a person as a whole relates to the world, to his or her own life. With the body playing a central role, true empathy requires the ability to listen, to recognize another's irreducible uniqueness, welcome their otherness. Welcome their otherness. Wow, that's grasp the meaning behind even their silences. Unlike the realm of the analogical judgment in which AI excels, true empathy belongs to the rational sphere and involves intuiting and apprehending the lived experiences of another while maintaining the distinction between self and other. While AI can stimulate empathy, empathetic responses, it cannot replicate the amenity, a personal and relational nature of the authentic empathy. In the light of the above, it is clear why misinterpreting AI as a person should always be avoided. This is a grave ethical violation of social trust. Well, that's true. Similarly, using AI to deceive in other contexts, education, or in human relationships includes a sphere of sexuality. It also is considered immoral and requires careful oversight to prevent harm, maintain transparency, and ensure the dignity of all people. So, getting into some of the more practical aspects of it now and some of the concerns that people have. Um, so, in an increasingly isolated world, some people have turned to AI in search of deep human relationships, simple companionship, or even emotional bonds. However, while human beings are meant to experience authentic relationships, AI can only simulate them. Nevertheless, such relationships with others are an integral part of how a person grows to become who he or she is meant to be. If AI is used to help people foster genuine connections between people, it can contribute positively to the full realization of a person. Conversely, if we replace the relationships with God and others with interactions and technology, we risk replacing the authentic rationality with the lifeless image. Psalms 106, verse 20, and Romans 1, 22 through 23. Instead of retreating into the artificial worlds, we are called to engage in commitment in the intentional way with reality, especially by identifying with the poor and suffering, consoling these in sorrow, and forging bonds of communion with all. So it's got some good points there, and got some really good insight about how this AI should not be used to objectify or violate the human dignity um, when it comes sexually and other other issues. It shouldn't replace your social order of friendships, whether it's romantic or pragmatic. So let's go down. AI, the economy and labor, 64 through 67. Whoa. And I think we're only halfway through this document. Might have to do a part two. We'll see. AI, due to the interdisciplinary nature, AI is being increasingly integrated into the economic financial systems. The significant investments are currently being made not only in the technology sector, but also the energy, finance, and media, particularly in the areas of marketing and sales, logistics and technological innovation, compliance, and the risk of management. At the same time, AI's application in these areas have also highlighted the uh, uh, ambivalent nature as the source of the tremendous opportunities. Real critical point in this area concerns the possibility that due to the concentration of AI applications in the hands of a few corporations, only those large companies would benefit from the value created by the AI rather than the businesses they use it. Other uh, other broader aspects of the AI impacts on the economy and financial sphere must also be carefully examined, particularly concerning the interaction between the concrete reality and the digital world. One important consideration in this regard involves the coexistence of the diverse and the alternative forms of economic and financial institutions within given context. The factor should be encouraged. It can bring benefits in how it supports the real economy by fostering its developments and stability, especially during the times of crisis. Nevertheless, it should be stressed that the digital realities, not restricted by any uh, my goodness, any specific wait where spatial bonds tend to be more homogeneous and and impersonal than the communities rooted in a particular place and specific history, with a common journey characterized by the shared values and hopes, but they also by inevitable disagreements and divergences. The diversity is a undeniable asset in the community's economic life. Turning over the economy and finance entirely to the digital technology would reduce this variety and richness. As a result, many solutions and to the economic problems that can be reached through the natural dialogue also or between the involved parties may no longer be attainable in the world dominated by the procedures and only in the appearance of nearness. Another area where AI is already having a profound impact on the world of work, as in many other fields, AI is driving fundamental transformations across many professions with range of effects. On one hand, it has the potential to advance excerpts and productivity, create new jobs, enable workers to focus on more innovative tasks, and open new horizons of creativity and innovation. However, while the AI promises to boost productivity by taking over the mundane tasks, it is frequently forces workers to adapt the speed and the demands of the machines rather than the machines being designed to support those who work. As a result, contrary to be advertised benefits of AI, the current approaches to the technology can paradoxically uh, skilly workers, subject them to automated surveillance, and regulate them to the rigid and repetitive tasks, basically slave work, 1984. They need to keep up with the pace of technology that can erode workers' sense of agency and stifle the innate abilities they are expected to bring to their work. So, slave work, yeah. AI is currently eliminating the need for some jobs that were once performed by humans. If AI is used to replace human workers rather than complement them, there's a substantial risk of disproportionate benefit for the few that price of the improvement of the many. Additionally, as AI becomes more powerful, there is an associated risk that the human labor may lose its value in the economic realm. This is the logical consequence of the technological uh, paradigm. A world of humanity enslaved to efficiency, where ultimately the costs of humanity must be cut. Yet human lives are intrinsically valuable, independent of their economic output. Nevertheless, the current model, Pope Francis explains, does not appear to favor an investment in efforts to help slow the weak or less the talent to find the abilities in life. In light of this, we cannot allow a tool as powerful as indispensable as artificial intelligence to reinforce such a paradigm. Rather, we must make artificial intelligence a bulwark against its expansion. Interesting. It is important to remember that the order of things must be subordinate to the order of persons and not the other way around. Human work must not only be at service of a profit, but at the service of the whole human person, taking into account the person's material needs and requirements of his or her intellectual, moral, spiritual, religious life. In this context, the church recognizes that the work is not only a means of earning one's daily bread, but also a essential dimension of social life and a means of personal growth in the building of the healthy relationships, self expression, and exchange of gifts. Work gives us a sense of the shared responsibility for the development in the world and ultimately for our life as people. Since work is a part of the meaning of life on this earth, a path to grow, human development, and personal fulfillment, the goal should not be the goal should not to be technological progress increasing replaces human work, for this would be detrimental to humanity. That's true. Ora et labora. We must pray and work. Rather, it should be promote human labor. Seen in this light, AI should assist and not replace human judgments. Similarly, it must never denigrate creativity or reduce workers to mere cogs in a machine. Therefore, respect for the dignity of the uh, laborers and the importance of the employment of the economic well-being of the individuals, families, and societies for job security and just wages ought to be a high priority for the international community as these forms of technology penetrate more deeply into workplaces. Basically, guys, if you're going to oversaturate the market with the AI, then AI jobs need to be filled with humans. Um, and they should be treated well, not disrespectfully, and not not like a automated machine. All right, so we are on 70. AI and healthcare. Oh boy, this is gonna be whew, this is gonna be a tough one. Okay. As a participants in God's healing work, healthcare professionals have the vocation and the responsibility to be guardians and servants of human life. Because of this, healthcare profession carries an intrinsic and undeniable ethical dimension recognized by the Hippocratic Oath, which obliges physicians and healthcare professionals to commit themselves to having absolute respect for human life and sacredness. Following the example of the Good Samaritan, the commitment to be carried out by men and women who reject the creation of society of inclusion and act instead as a neighbor, lifting up and rehabilitating the fallen for the sake of the common good. Seen in this light, AI seems to hold an immense potential in a variety of applications in the medical field, such as assisting the diagnostic work of healthcare providers, facilitating relationships between patients and medical staff, offering new treatments, and expanding access to quality care. Also, those who are isolated and marginalized in those ways the technology could advance the compassionate and loving closeness. The healthcare providers are called to extend to the sick and the suffering. However, if the AI is used not to enhance but to replace the relationship between patients and healthcare providers, leaving patients to interact with a machine rather than a human being, oh gosh, that would be terrible. We already have a bad healthcare system right now as it is. This would not be good. Not be good at all. Yeah, it might be able to know a lot of stuff, but again, for doctors, all doctors being, somewhat hard to get a hold of because, there's so few of them and they're so busy, uh, it would just make real doctors even more impossible to get a hold of in a emergency circumstance, especially in a hospital setting. Just like I'm saying, that would just be. I can see it now. I can see that future. I can see that future, and it's not good. That is alarming for sure. It would reduce the cruciality and importance of the human relation structure to the centralized, impersonal, and unequal framework instead of encouraging solidarity with the sick and the suffering. Such applications of AI would risk worsening lupus that often accompanies the illness, especially in the context of the cultural where persons are no longer seen as the paramount value to be compared for the respected. The misuse of AI would not align with the respect for the dignity of the human person and the solidarity with its suffering. Yeah, see, I mean, if the machine could just walk up to you and say, I think you have a prosthetic need. You need to be amputated. You have gangrene. And the patient's like, I don't have gangrene. I never had gangrene. But can I see a doctor? Can I see a second opinion? I'm sorry, there are no doctors available right now. My input is best. You need an amputation. No, I don't need an amputation. Are you sure? I don't. See, it's like I could just picture this dialogue going on in my head of what a AI interface nurse robot do in a outpatient room or inpatient room of a hospital. It it would drive me insane because first of all, it's taking away from the human capability and corporal work of mercy. What does our Lord say? If you visit the sick, you do it unto me. If you visit the sick or the imprisoned, if you clothe the naked, right? If you give drink to the thirsty, food to the hungry, you do it to the least of my brethren. If you insert the AI, what it's saying here is it takes away opportunities for corporal work for the corporal works of mercy. So, and for many people, that was one of the harder ones to do, and not the most easy one to endure. So, it is it is aggravating. So, um, let's see, let's see. Did I responsibility of the well-being of the patients and decisions are that touch upon the lives at the heart of the healthcare profession. Accountability requires uh, medical professionals to exercise all their skill and intelligence in making well reasoned and ethical grounded choices regarding those trusted to their care, always respecting the inviolable dignity by the patients and the need for their informed consent. As a result, the decisions regard a patient treatment and the weight of the responsibility they entail must always remain with the human person, that they should never be denigrated by to AI. They should, sorry, I misread that. They should never be delegated to AI. Interesting. All right, so we got two more on medical. All right. In addition, using AI to determine who should receive treatment based on predominantly on economic measures or metrics of efficient represent uh, represents a particularly problematic instance of the technocratic paradigm that must be rejected. Agreed. For optimizing resources means the using them in the ethical, fraternal way, penalizing the most fragile. Additionally, AI tools in healthcare are exposed to forms and biases of discrimination where the systematic errors can easily multiply. producing not only injustices in individual cases, but also due to the domino effect, real forms of social inequality. The integration of the AI into the healthcare also poses the risk of amplifying others' existing uh, disparities to access the medical care. As the healthcare becomes increasingly oriented toward the prevention and the lifestyle based approaches, AI driven solutions be may inadvertently favor more affluent populations who ready who already enjoy better access to medical resources and quality nutrition. This trend risks reinforcing and a quote medicine for the rich quote unquote model. Those with financial means benefit from the advances, preventative tools, and personalized health and information, while others struggle to access even the basic services. Uh, yeah, I mean, I can see that. I can see that. All right. To prevent such inequalities, uh, equitable frameworks are needed to ensure that the use of AI in healthcare does not worsen existing healthcare inequalities. Rather, services the common good. Oh, healthcare is a mess. Oh, it's a mess. Anyway, we're moving on to education. AI in education, 77 through 80. The words of the Second Vatican Council remain fully relevant today. The true education strives to form individuals with the view towards their final end and the good of the good of the society to which they belong. As such, the education is never a mere process of passing on facts or educational skills. Rather, it's an aim to contribute to the person's holistic formation in its various aspects of intellectual, cultural, spiritual, etc., including, for example, community life and relations within the academic community, in keeping with the nature and the dignity of the human person. Okay. To this this approach involves a commitment to cultivating the mind, but always as part of the integral development of the person. We must break the idea of education, which holds uh, that educating means filling one's head with ideas. That is the way we educate uh, 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 automations, cerebral minds, not people. Educating is not taking a risk in tension between the mind and the heart and the hands. At the center of this work, informing the whole human person is indispensable relationship between the teacher and the students. Teachers do more than convey knowledge; they model essential human qualities and inspire the joy of discovery. The presence motivates the students both through the content they teach and the care they demonstrate for their students. The bond fosters trust, mutual understanding, and the capacity to understand, to address each person's uh, unique dignity and potential on the part of the students. This can generate a genuine desire to grow. The physical presence of a teacher creates a rational dynamic that AI cannot replicate, one that deeper engagements and uh, nurtures that students' integral development. In this context, AI, both the opportunities and challenges, if used in the prudent manner, with the context of a existing teacher-student relationship and ordered the authentic goals of education, AI can become a valuable education resource by enhancing access to education, offering tailored support, and proving immediate feedback to students. These benefits could enhance the following experience, especially in cases where individualized attention is needed or the educational resources are otherwise scarce. So scrolling down, this is a pretty loaded one for sure. 81 to 83. Nevertheless, is an essential part of the education, the forming of the intellect of the person, the intellect of the reason, all matters to reach out towards truth and to grasp while having the language of the head grow harmoniously with the language of the heart and the language of the hands. This is all the more vital in the age of marked by technology, in which it is no longer merely a question by using the instruments of communication, but of living in highly digitalized culture that has found more profound impact on our ability to communicate, to learn, to inform, to enter into relationship with others more, and however, uh, instead of fostering and cultivating the intellect, which brings with its power the grace in every work to occupation, and the extensive use of AI in the education could lead to the students and the increased on technology eroding their ability to perform some skills individually and worsening their dependence on screens. Additionally, while some AI systems are designed to help people develop their critical thinking abilities, the problem solving skills, many others merely provide answers instead of prompting students to arrive at the answers themselves or write text for themselves. Basically, they want to promote laziness, which is understandable. It's already something they already have to deal with now. Otherwise, they wouldn't be writing about it. Instead of the training the young people how to amass information and generate the quick responses, education should encourage the responsible use of the freedom to face issues with the good sense and intelligence. Building on this, education and this use of forms of the artificial intelligence should aim above all the prompting and critical thinking, or promoting, should aim above all the promoting and critical thinking. Users of all ages, but especially the young, need to develop a discerning approach to the use of data and contain on the content collected on the web and produced by artificial intelligence systems, schools, and universities and scientific societies, and challenge to help students and professionals to grasp the social and the ethical aspects of the developments and the use of technology. As St. John Paul II recalled, quote, in a world today characterized by rapid developments in science and technology, the tasks of the Catholic University assume a greater importance and urgency as the great laboratories of hope at the crossroads of history, disciplinary and uh, and cross-disciplinary key, they are urged to engage with wisdom and creativity and careful research this phenomenon, helping to draw out solitary potential within the various fields of science and reality, and guiding them toward the ethical sound obligations, and clearly serve the cohesion of our societies and the common good, reaching new frontiers and dialogue between faith and reason. All right, so now, the next topic is going to be good. Or, well, I say good, it's going to be prevalence. It's probably like what the 30s were. Moreover, it should be noted that the current AI should have been known to provide biased or fabricating information, which can be lead students to trust the inaccurate content. This problem not only runs the risks of legitimizing fake news and strengthening a dominant cultural uh, advantage, but in short, it also determines the educational process itself. What time clear distinctions may emerge between proper and improper uses of AI in education and research. Yet, a decisive guidelines is that the use of AI should always be transparent and never uh, misrepresented. All right, so now we're going to 85, AI, misinformation, deepfakes, and abuses. 85 through 88. Oops. AI could be used as a aid to human dignity if it helps people understand complex concepts or directs them to sound resources that support their search for truth. However, AI also presents a serious risk of generating manipulating content and false information, which can easily mislead people due to the resemblance to the truth. Such misinformation might occur unintentionally, as in the case of AI hallucination, where a generative AI system yields results that appears real but are not, since generating context that mimics human artifacts is the central to AI's functionality. Migrating these risks proves, or sorry, mitigating these risks seems proves challenging. Yet the consequences of such abbreviations and false information can be quite grave. For this reason, all those involved in producing AI systems should be committed to the truthfulness and accuracy of the information processed by such systems and this disseminated to the public. While AI has a latent potential to generate false information, and even more troubling problem in the deliberate misuse of AI for the manipulation, this can occur, which individuals or organizations intentionally generate and spread false content with the with the aim to deceive or cause harm, such as the deepfake images, videos, and audio, referring to the false depiction of a person, edited or generated by AI algorithm. The danger of deepfakes is particularly evident when they are used to target or harm others. While the images or videos themselves may be artificial, the damage they cause is real, leaving deep scars in the hearts of those who suffer it and real wounds in their human dignity. On the border scale, by distorting our relationships with others and with reality. AI generated fake media can gradually undermine the foundations of society. The issue requires the careful regulation of as misinformation, especially as AI controlled or influenced media can spread unintentionally, fueling politically polarization and social unrest. When the society becomes indifferent to the truth, various groups construct their own versions of facts, weakening the reciprocal ties and mutual dependencies that what they see and hear, polarization and conflict will only grow. Such widespread deception is no trivial matter. It strikes at the core of humanity, dismantling the foundational trust on which societies are built. I should have said more about this, but it's going to stop at 89. But anyway, countering AI driven falsehoods is not only the work of the industry experts, it requires the efforts of people of goodwill. If technology is to serve human uh, dignity, then the human community must be active. In this address, these tend with respect to the human dignity and the promotion of those who promote and share AI generated content should always exercise diligence and verify it, and in all cases should avoid sharing denigrating of human beings. The hatred and intolerance, the database and the goodness and the intimacy of human sexuality or exploit the vulnerable, and the calls of the ongoing prudence and careful discernment of all users regarding their activity. All right, AI, privacy, and surveillance. 90 through 93. Human Humans are inherently rational, and the data each person generates in the digital world can be seen as objectified expressions in the relational nature. Data conveys not only information but also the personal and relational knowledge the uh, which in a increasingly digitalized context can to the power over the individual. Moreover, while some types of data may be retained to the public aspects of the person's life, others may touch upon the individual's interiority, perhaps even their conscience. Seen in this way, the privacy plays a role in protecting the boundaries of the person's inner life. Perceiving their freedom to relate to others, expresses themselves, and make decisions without religious freedom. Ugh, there's that thing again, religious freedom. As surveillance can also be misused to the lives of believers and how they express their faith. It is appropriate therefore to address the issue of privacy. Yeah, the issue of privacy for the concern, legitimate freedom, and inalienable dignity of the human person in all circumstances. The Second Vatican Council included the fundamental rights necessary for a living, genuine life, a right that should be extended to all people on the account of their sublime dignity. Furthermore, the Church has also affirmed the right to legitimate respect for a private life in the context of affirming the person's right to a good reputation. defense of their physical and mental integrity, and the freedom from harm or undue intrusion, essential components of the due respect for the intrinsic dignity of the human person. AI, or advances in AI, powered data processing and analysis now make it possible to inform patterns in a person's behavior and thinking from even a small amount of information, making the role of data privacy even more imperative as a safeguard for the dignity of the rational nature of the human person. As Pope Francis observed, while closed and intolerant attitudes toward others are on the rise, distances and otherwise shrinking or disappearing to the point where the right to privacy scarcely exists. Everything has become a kind of spectacle to be examined and inspected, and a person's life or people's lives are now under constant surveillance. While there can be legitimate and proper ways to use AI and keeping human dignity and the common good and using it for surveillance and aiming at exploiting it, restricting others' freedom or benefiting a few at the expense of the many is unjustifiable. The risk of surveillance overreach must be monitored by appropriate regulators to ensure transparency and public accountability. Those responsible for surveillance should never exceed their authority, which must always favor dignity and freedom in every way as the essential basis of the just and human society. Basically, every sci-fi movie um, about the future way of life ever said right there. So yeah, 94, the last one before they hit. Before we go on to a different. Furthermore, fundamental respect of human dignity uh, demands that we refuse to allow the uniqueness of a person to be identified with a set of ideas, especially applies with the idea the use of to evaluate individuals or groups based on their behavior, characteristics, or history, a practice known as social scoring. In the social and economic decision making, we should be cautious about delegating judgments to algorithms and the process data, often collected uh, superstitiously on the individual makeup and the prior behavior. Such data can be uh, contaminated, contaminated by societal prejudices and preconceptions. A person's past behavior should not be used to deny him or her opportunity to change, grow, or contribute to society. We cannot allow algorithms to limit or condition respect for the human dignity or to exclude compassion, mercy, and forgiveness, and above all, the hope that people are able to change. True. All right, I will say that's good. That's good. AI and protection of our common home. Okay, this one. AI has many promising applications for improvising our relationship with common home, such as creating models to forecasting extreme climate events, proposing engineering solutions to reduce impact and managing relief operations and predicting population shifts. Additionally, AI can support the sustainable agriculture, optimize energy use, and provide early warning systems for the public health emergencies. These advancements have the potential to strengthen resilience against the climate related challenges and promote more sustainable development. At the same time, the current AI models and hardware required to support and consume vast amounts of energy, water, significantly contributing to CO2 emissions and straining resources. Oh boy. This reality is often observed by the way this technology is presented in the popular imagination, where the words such as the cloud can give the impression that the data is stored and processed in an intangible realm detached from the physical world. However, the cloud is not a ethereal domain separate from the physical world. As with all the computing technologies, it relies on the physical machines, cables, and energy. And the same is true of the technology behind AI. As these systems grow in complexity, especially large language models, they require ever larger data sets, increased computation power, and the greater storage infrastructure. Considering the heavy toll those technologies take on the environment, it is vital to develop sustainable solutions that reduce their impact on the common home. Okay, yeah. Using it for climate change. Okay. Even then, as Pope Francis teaches, is the essential that we look for the solutions not only of the technology, but the change of humanity. A complete and authentic understanding of creation recognizes the value of created things cannot be reduced to the mere utility. Therefore, a fully uh, human approach to the stewardship of the earth rejects the distorted uh, anthropocentrism of the technological paradigm, which seeks the exact the extract possible from the world, and this rejects the myth of progress, which assumes the ecological problems that will solve themselves simply with the application of new technology and without or ethical considerations of a deep change. Such a mindset must give away more holistic approach that respects the order of creation and promotes the integral good of the human person, and while safeguarding our common home. All right, so now getting into, I think, what everyone fears, at least people who see enough sci-fi movies and are worried the AI will go haywire. But as this document has said, it can't do that unless a human does it for them. So, but let's go ahead and read it anyway. AI and warfare. The Second Vatican Council and the consistent teaching of the popes since then have insisted that peace is not merely the absence of war and not limited to maintaining a balance of powers between adversities. Instead, in the words of St. Augustine, finally we get a church father in here. The peace is the tranquility of order. Indeed, peace cannot be attained without safeguarding the goods of persons, free communication, respect for the dignity of the persons and the peoples, and the assiduous practice of fraternity. Peace is the work of justice, and affects the charity and cannot be achieved through force alone. Instead, it must be principally built through the patient diplomacy and the active promotion of justice, solidarity, integral human development, and respect for the dignity of all people. In this way, the tools used to maintain peace should never be allowed to justify injustice, violence, or oppression. Instead, they should always be governed by a firm determination to respect other people and nations, along with the dignity as well as the deliberate practice of the fraternity. While AI's analytical abilities could help nations seek peace and ensure security, the weaponization of artificial intelligence can also be highly problematic. For Francis observes that the ability to conduct military operations through remote control systems has led to lessening perception of the devastation caused by those weapon systems and burden the responsibility of their use, resulting in an even more cold and detached approach to the immense tragedy of war. Moreover, an ease in which the anonymous weapons make war more viable militates against the principles of war as the last resort in legitimate self-defense, potentially increasing the instruments of war well beyond the scope of human oversight and participating a destabilizing arms race with catastrophic consequences for human rights. Yeah, you see that. But again, you always gotta have a human behind it. Just do. In particular, lethal anonymous weapon systems, which are capable of identifying and striking targets without direct human intervention, are the cause of the great ethical cause a great cause for grave ethical concern because they lack the unique human capacity for more judgments and the uh, ethical decision making. For this reason, Pope Francis has urgently called for the reconsideration of the development of these weapons and a prohibition on their use, starting with the uh, effective and concrete commitment to introduce even greater and proper human control. No machine should ever choose to take the life of a human being. Yeah, true. 100% true. All right. Since it is the small step from the machines that can kill uh, anonymously with the precision to those capable of large scale destruction. Some AI researchers have expressed concerns that technology poses a, ex, a existential threat risk by having a potential to act in ways that could threaten the survival of entire regions or even humanity itself. The dangers demand serious attention, reflecting the lifelong standing concerns about the technologies that grant an uncontrollable destructive power over great numbers of innocent civilians without even sparing children. In this context, the call from Gaudium et Spes to, quote, undertake the evaluation of war with an entirely new attitude is more urgent than ever. At the same time, with the theoretical risks of AI attention, the more immediate and pressing concern lies on how individual and malicious intents might misuse the technology. Like any tool, AI is an extension of the human power, and while the future capabilities are unpredictable, humanity's past actions provide clear warnings. The atrocities committed throughout history are enough to raise deep concerns about the potential abuses of AI. St. John Paul II observed that, quote, humanity now has instruments of unprecedented power, and we can turn this world into a garden or reduce it to a pile of rubble, given the fact that the church reminds us that the words Pope Francis and we are freely uh, apply our intelligence towards things evolving positively or towards decadence or mutual destruction to prevent humanity from spiraling into self destruction. There must be a clear stand against all applications of technology that inherently threaten human life or and dignity. That makes sense. The commandment requires careful discernment about the use of AI, particularly in the military defense applications, to ensure that it always respects human dignity and serves the common good and development and development of AI. Armaments should be subject to the highest level of ethical security scrutiny, governed by a concern for the human dignity and the sanctity of life. Now, this is where we're starting to get a little bit more biblical and apocalyptic, and this is what uh, Daniel O'Connor commented on. If you watch his stuff about the Great Deception and things like that, so I think we're getting really close to the end of this document. The rest is just footnotes. Let me check. Yeah, so yeah, wow, 117. So we are at 104. AI and our relationship with God. The technology offers remarkable tools to oversee and develop the world's resources. However, in some cases, humanity is increasingly ceding control to these resources to machines. With some circles and scientists and futurists, there is optimism about the incre- uh, about the potential of artificial intelligence, general intelligence (AGI), a hypothetical form of AI that would match or surpass the human intelligence and bring about unimaginable advances. Some even speculate that AGI could achieve the superhuman capabilities. At the same time, as the society drifts away into connection with the transcendent. Some are tempered to turn to AI in search for meaning or fulfillment, offering that can only be truly satisfied in communion with God. Basically, they're worried that people are going to turn AI into God, which is very, very possible. Again, same sins of the past, new ways of doing it. We're going to be talking about idolatry here, breaking the first commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before the Lord thy God. Careful how you use AI. However, the presumption of substituting God for an artificial or for an artifact of human making is idolatry. Boom. Thank you for being clear on that. The practice of Scripture explicitly warns against it. Exodus 24, 32, 1 through 5, 34, 17. Moreover, AI may prove even more seductive than traditional idols. For unlike idols that, quote, have mouths but do not speak, eyes and do not see, ears but do not hear, unquote, Psalm 115, 5 through 6, AI can speak or at least give the illusion of doing so. Apocalypse 13:15 or Revelation 15:13. Yet it is vital to remember that the AI is but a pale reflection of humanity. It is crafted by human minds, trained on the human generated material, responsive to the human output, and sustained through human labor. AI cannot possess many of the capabilities infallible by turning to AI as a perceived other than itself, with which to share its existence and the responsibilities. Humanity risks creating a substitute for God. However, it is not AI that is ultimately defiled, or it's not AI that is ultimately deified and worshipped, but humanity itself, which in this way becomes the enslaved to his own work. Goes back to that first sin in the garden, right? The devil tempts Adam and Eve, and saying, if you eat this, you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. It is a new way to present that first temptation, an even more subtle way that humanity will likely fall into someday. Not saying when, but knowing human nature, we often like to brag on ourselves. And we're often too narcissistic. So there's that. While AI has the potential to serve humanity and contribute to the common good, it remains a creation of human hands, bearing the imprint of the human art and ingenuity. Acts 17:29. It must never be ascribed undue worth. As the Book of Wisdom affirms, for man made them and whose spirit is borrowed from them, form them. For no man can form a God which is like himself. He is mortal, and what he makes with the lawless hands is dead, for he is better than the objects he worships, since he has life, and they never have. Wisdom 15:16 through 17. In contrast, human beings, by the interior life, transcend the entire material universe. They experience the deep interiority when they enter into their own hearts, where God probes the heart and awaits them, and where they decide their own destiny in the sight of God. It is within the heart, as Pope Francis reminds us, that each individual discovers the mysterious connection between the self-knowledge and openness and to others, between the encounter with one's personal uniqueness and the willingness to give oneself to others. Therefore, it is the heart alone that is capable of setting our other powers and passions and our entire person in the stance of reverence and loving obedience before the Lord, who utters the treat each one of us as a thou always and forever. Unquote. All right. Concluding reflections. Oh. Paragraphs 108 through 117. Considering the various challenges posed by the advances in technology, Pope Francis emphasized the need for growth in the human responsibility, values, and conscience that proportionate to growth and the potential that technology brings, recognizing that with the increase in human power comes the bordering of responsibility on the part of the individuals and communities. At the same time, the essential and fundamental question remains whether the context of the progress man is becoming truly better, that is to say, more mature spiritually, more aware of the dignity of humanity, more responsible, more open to others, especially in the neediest and the weakest, and the readier to give to all, to aid all. As a result of the crucial, as a result, it is critical to know how to evaluate individual applications of AI to participate context and determine whether it is use that promotes the human dignity and the vocations of the human person, the common good, as many technology effects of the uh, various uses of AI may not always be predicted from their inception. As the applications and their social impacts become clearer, appropriate responses should be made at all levels of society following the principles of subsidiarity. Individual users, families, civil societies, corporations, institutions, governments, international organizations should work at their proper levels to ensure that AI is used for the good of all. A significant challenge and opportunity for the common good today lies in considering AI within the framework of the rational intelligence, which emphasizes the interconnectedness of the individual and communities, and the highlights our shared responsibility for fostering the integral well being of others. The 20th century philosopher Nicholas uh, Perdyaevsky, uh, sorry, Perdeve, uh, observed that the people often blame machines for personal and social problems. However, this only humiliates man and does not respond to his dignity, for it is unworthy to transfer responsibility from man to machine. Only a human person can be morally responsible, and challenges of the technological society are ultimately spiritui, or sorry, spiritual in nature. Therefore, facing the challenges demand the uh, intensification of, of spirituality. Basically, it's saying if you're going to use AI, you're going to need to have a deeper spiritual life to know the virtual world and the more authentical real world and the spiritual realm as well. So, no matter how artificial, no matter how real the virtual world will be with AI, it's still never going to be able to touch the reality of God's depth of natural creation. It's never going to get that far. AI is never going to be able to tell us what's in our deepest ocean. AI is never going to be able to tell us where all the black holes in the sky are and throughout the universe. AI won't be able to tell us how many species have went extinct. It will never be able to do that. That's something to remember, because that is the real tangible world, and that's something we have to remember. Uh, a, a further point to consider is a call prompted by the appearance of AI on the world stage for the renewal appreciation of all that is human. Years ago, the French Catholic author Georges Bernanos warned that, quote, the danger is not the multiplication of the machines, but that the ever increasing number of men accustomed from their childhood to desire only what machines can give. The challenge is that the true today of digitalization risks the digital reductionism, where non quantifiable aspects of life are set aside and then forgotten or even deemed irrelevant because they cannot be computed in the virtual terms. AI should be used only as a tool to complement humanity's intelligence rather than to replace its richness. Cultivating those aspects of human life that transcend computation is crucial for the preservation of authentic humanity that seems to dwell in the midst of our technological culture, almost unnoticed, like the mist seeping gently beneath the closed door. True wisdom. The vast expanse of the world's knowledge is now accessible in ways that would have filled past generations with awe. However, to ensure the advancements in knowledge do not become humanly or spiritually barren, one must go beyond the mere uh, uh, accumulation of data and strive to achieve true wisdom. The true wisdom uh, is the gift that humanity needs most to address profound quests and the ethical challenges posed by AI. Only by adopting a spiritual way of viewing reality, only by receiving or recovering a wisdom of the hearts, can we confront and interpret the newness of our time. Such are the wisdom of the heart is the virtue that enables us to integrate the whole and the parts, our decisions and their consequences. It cannot be sought from machines, but let self be found by those who seek it, and to be seen by those who love it, anticipates those who desire it, and goes in search of those who are worthy of it. Wisdom 6:12 through 16. In a world marked by AI, we need the grace of the Holy Spirit of the Holy Ghost, who enables us to look at things with God's eyes, to see connections, situations, events that can uncover their real meaning. Since a person's perfection is measured not by the information or the knowledge they possess, but by the depth of their charity, how we incorporate AI to include the least of our brothers and sisters, the vulnerable, these most need, will be the true measures of our humanity. The wisdom of the heart can illuminate and guide the human centered use of the technology to help promote the common good, care for the common home, advance the search for the truth, foster integral human development, favor human solidarity and fraternity, and lead humanity to its ultimate goal and happiness in the full communion with God. For the perspective of the wisdom, believers will lie, will believers will be able to act as moral agents and capable of using technology to promote a authentic vision of the human person and society. This should be done with the understanding that technological progress is part of God's plan for creation, an activity that we are called in order toward the paschal mystery of Jesus Christ in the continual search for his truth and the good. The Supreme Pontiff Francis, and the audience granted on January 14th, 2025, to be undersigned prefects and secretaries of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith and dicasteries of the culture and education, approved this note and ordered its publication. Given in Rome at the offices of the dicasteries of the faith and dicasteries of culture and education on the 28th of January 2025, the liturgical memorial of the feast of St. Thomas Aquinas' relics, the doctor of the church, even though his feast day and traditionally is March 7th. That's the day he died. So, my goodness. So, I'm sharing. So, I'm sharing. All right. Wow. I thought that took longer. All right. So, that was long. I think I'm going to do a backup video tomorrow or the next day on this and give my topic on this because my goodness, this is a big topic. And my mother and I had a conversation about this the other night. Um, if you're not talking about AI or talking about its significance in the world today, you are behind. The question is, how far are you behind? Is it weeks? Is it months? Is it hours? Because it's speeding up. People are feeding it. It's speeding up exponentially, and people are coming up with competing AI um, factors and uh, finding a way to make a lot of money off of it. So this document, Antiqua et Nova, the ancient and the new, talks about the the modern use of AI and the concerns and the needs and how we should be careful of not to become overly reliant on it. And there's a lot of good stuff in here. In short, I'll talk more about it later. But there's also some stuff in there that is just really word salad in some cases, and really, really concerning that they don't see the further problem behind this. Like there's a certain aspect of humanity in here that's not talked about, and another kind of intelligence that helps or hinders us and has always been around as long as humanity has. So it's like, you know, it's not that the technology is bad. Certain technologies are innately neutral. So, like makeup, not bad, not good. Um, Gold, neither bad nor good, right? Um, the printing press, when that was made, neither bad nor good. What you use it for is how it's gonna be determined if it's bad or good. Um, let's take let's take body armor. Body armor is good when it saves lives, but it could also be bad if it's used to save the life of the aggressor in a moment of uh, aggravated violence. So that's something to look at it. But if you take the vest off itself and just put it on the table or take it off the human person, the vest is neither good nor bad. The technology is not bad or good in this case. But the intelligence that drives it, or the will, the act of the will to actually do something with the technology, to put the intent behind the technology, is what makes it good or evil in the moment. I'm no expert, but far from an expert, but we don't need to be afraid necessarily of it because it's not going to achieve what we think it's going to achieve, or at least what a lot of people think it's going to achieve. At least not without another level of interference. And I'll talk more about that later. This relatively is a decent document. It's got some good in there. It's got some concerning stuff in there as well that I didn't necessarily like. I wish it had more, believe it or not, more scientists of the 20th century in there, Catholic scientists that were talking about technological innovations. I felt it was, yeah, I know it's coming from the Pope's office, well, the dicastery of education and culture and other places like that, but it felt like Pope Francis was overly relying on himself and not relying enough on other people as well as his own authority to to better communicate. I mean, like I think it was a lot about of his concerns, which he has a lot of he has the concerns as well as many other people. So it's I'm not criticizing that at all, but I just wish that there was more in there about previous popes and more church fathers. Uh, how we relate to the, the days back then to to technological innovation um, of their day to modern day. So anyway, I'll talk more about that another time. This is a long video, so let's go ahead and end with Hail Mary. Yeah, and St. Michael prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratias plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancte Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et hora mortis nostre. Amen. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host of the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits, and rob of the world, to give our souls. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Good night.